today I'm going to show you a quick and affordable way to repair your rims and make them look brand new. You can see in the back this rim is pretty scratched out, it even has this nasty dent. And after we finish with them, they look better than new. Check it out. These are the products I used in the video. I used about 2 cans of each for all 4 wheels, and I spent around $50 to $60 in paint. Important disclaimer, it is important to check the integrity of the rim and make sure that there is no cracks, and if the dent is too severe, take it to a shop to get it professionally repaired and inspected. These rims, I ended up replacing the tires, and I took the time to inspect them thoroughly to make sure there was no damage, and the damage that there was, it was purely cosmetic and not structural. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So the first thing I did was to use this punch tool and a hammer to try to move as much of that material back into the lip. And yeah, I risked breaking a chunk off by doing this since I could not use heat to soften up the metal while the tires were mounted. So it is better to do this kind of repair while the tires are off, but I had not planned on doing these repairs on the rims since they were just going to be winter beaters. But I ended up changing my mind and decided to do the repairs on the rims after I already had mounted the new tires on it, and I did not want to pay the unmounting fees, the remounting fees, and then balancing them again. That was going to be a lot of money going to waste, so I decided to show you that it is possible to repair them while the tires are on, but you will have to use slightly different methods. I'm just kidding, guys, but you do have to be careful when using these tools. Make sure you wear your safety glasses. But here what I'm doing now, after punching out as much as I could with a hammer, as much as I would feel comfortable without breaking off a chunk, I started grinding down any of that material that was not perfectly in form with the curvature of the rim. So I started shaving it down essentially before I start sanding it, taking off as much material as I can. But yeah, after shaving down as much as you can and try to get that as flat as possible, I'm going to start sanding it down, making it nice and smooth. Don't worry about any holes or any deep scratches that you find. Eventually we're going to fill them in, so for now just try to make everything as smooth and as flat as possible. Try to get it even with the surrounding areas. And here is the secret ingredient to the Krabby Patty formula. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I am using, yes, JB Weld. I prepared some JB Weld and I'm using it to fill any deep scratches, and we're going to try to build that lip back up using JB Weld. If you can use body filler and Bondo for the body panels, you can use JB Weld for your rims. As long as it's purely cosmetic, I don't see the problem with it. Again, we're not using it for anything structural. So we're just going to do all the deep scratches that we find, any dings, and also we're going to be building this lip back up. So that's what I'm doing right here, filling in all the scratches, all the little rock chips that I had, anything that I can find that I want to build back up. I'm putting JB Weld in it, and here I'm going to put a backing of tape into this just to get the curvature of that rim, and that will also help the JB Weld not to stick to the actual tire. But now in this stage you want to pack that JB Weld pretty thick back there. You don't want to worry about how pretty it looks, you just want to build that lip back up, because eventually we're just going to carve it back out. We're going to grind it down, sand it down into the shape of the lip, so make sure you do it liberally. So after you're done with this, make sure you let it dry, and on to the next step. So now that it has dried, I left it overnight, and this is the next day. I'm going to start grinding it down. I took that backing tape off, and we want to start now cutting it into shape. So anything that's excess, you want to start grinding it down. Just like at the beginning with that material, you want to start grinding down. I'm using this chisel here to try to get all those big chunks out that I'm cutting out. You want to be very careful not to, cut your wheel. That's very important. So I'm being very careful here. So I'm using a couple different tools here. I'm using the little Dremel to cut out any big chunks. Then I'm using the chisel to try to get those chunks out between the wheel and the tire. And then I found out that the knife was actually pretty effective. You can use the knife to carve the JB Weld almost like you're carving wood, because it's not that hard. It's just essentially epoxy reinforced with some metal. So you can pretty much carve it down, and eventually when I was happy with the shape that I carved out, I started just sanding it down and making it nice and smooth along the rest of the wheels. And then you can use your finger to try to feel for how rough it is and see what parts need to be, sanded down or grinded down even further. So any rough spots that you feel with your finger, make sure you sand them down. We're starting off with 80 grit. That should be able to get as much material off quickly. And then we're going to work our way up to eventually 1200 grit. I like going from like 80 grit to like 120, 150, 250, 300, 600, 1000, and then eventually 1200. Once you're happy with the sanding and everything is really nice and smooth, you should be able to feel no bumps anywhere. We're going to clean it with alcohol. That's my preferred choice of cleaning. You can do acetone. I know a lot of people do that. Me personally, I just use some regular alcohol. After that, you mask the tire and we're ready for primer. Doing the first layer of primer, you want to be light on it. You don't want to do nothing too fancy. You want to just get it in all the little crevices. You don't want it to be too even. You don't have to worry about that. You just want to make sure you get some primer on there. As you can see, I like going around the rim first, and then I start doing the inside of it. But you can do it in whatever order you want, as long as you get nice coverage and everything. Like I said, it doesn't have to be 100% even. If you see through it in some spots and not others, that's fine. You just want to make sure you get some primer in all the areas. This is just going to be the first coat, so we'll build it up as we go. Another quick tip, make sure you read the instructions on the can. A lot of them say they have to be between a certain degree in temperature to be able to get the best results. I remember when I was doing this, it was during the winter time, so it was kind of cold outside. I'm just in a shed outside, so I didn't have any heating in the building, so I later on went and got a little space heater, and I was using a heat gun to try to keep that paint nice and warm while I was drying, just to try to get the best results. Another quick tip or pro tip that I discovered is make sure you keep the nozzles clean of the spray cans. After spraying for a while, it starts building up on the nozzles, and then it starts like spitting little blobs of paint. You don't want that, so having like a nice napkin on hand is actually really helpful, especially during the painting process. The primer, it's a little more forgiving, same as the clear coat, but the paint is where you want it to be as cement as possible, because that's what you're gonna see. So after a few coats of primer, you're gonna start seeing the rim. It starts becoming a lot more beautiful, a lot more uniform. At this point, I started using the heat gun, try to get that primer up in temperature, try to get it to dry at its desired temperature like it says on the can. Just trying my best here. Also, you should probably use a respirator when doing all this. I was kind of stupid and didn't do it because I had the door open, but later on I started smelling the fumes pretty strongly, and yeah, I had to step out for a little bit, put a fan in there or something, get some ventilation going. So paint can be kind of dangerous, so make sure you use a well ventilated area. So now that the primer has dried, the fun part begins, painting the wheels, making that color pop. You're gonna start seeing it right away the first pass. Just like the primer, you want to have nice light coats at the start. You want to build it up nice and slowly. You don't want to build it too fast, because then you might get drips, and then that's really bad. You can really mess it up. You also want to watch out for splatter, especially at this part. This is the most important part. So you want to make sure you keep that nozzle nice and clean. Every couple sprays, try to clean it as much as you can. You'll start noticing, depending on your can, when the splatter starts to begin. So you want to make sure you clean that nozzle before that starts. So we'll fast forward this. I'm going to do a quick compilation of me just painting these two rims. But essentially, you're just going to do the same thing over and over again. Nice even coats, keep it light, and you will see how beautiful it starts to look as you build more coats. And then once it has dried, make sure you read the instructions on your paint and your clear coat to see when is the best time to apply the clear coat. Mine was only like after an hour of setting the paint down. So here it is after an hour. We're going to do a similar thing we did with the paint and the primer. We want to start with a nice even coat at first, and then we want to get some nice wet coats after that. But you want to be careful again not to build it too thick where it starts dripping, but just enough where it starts getting the nice glossy finish. You want to get a couple of those coats, let it rest in between. And this is how the old wheels used to look, and this is how they look now. Look at that. You can't even tell that there was any dents or any curb rash on them. They look absolutely spectacular, better than new. And this is how they look after one season of winter of daily driving them every day to work. I have them on my Lexus, and I still have them now. They survived 1 year. The other two wheels, actually, I didn't end up painting. I only ended up doing 2 this time around, because the other 2 were still in pretty good condition from the last time I painted them, which was like 2 years ago, which is insane how long this paint actually can last. And that just goes to show that this is a very cost-effective way of fixing your wheels. Use some JV Weld, sand it down, paint over it with some nice paint, and you'll get great results. I mean, I've been tracking on these tires, on these wheels, I've been using them throughout the winter and they still look in pristine condition. I think one of them has like a little rock chip, but for the most part, like 98% of the wheel is still perfect condition. So if you guys like this tutorial, if you guys like where you see the content and you want to see more, make sure you follow and like, and make sure to message me on Instagram any kind of wheels that you guys paint. I want to see the results that you guys get. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.